Good morning, journalism students. Here's our first update of the week. Typically, I give you 2 updates, one for each day our class is supposed to meet, but I added one extra update on Friday after I got a text message from Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez is part of the team that is putting together a special surprise recognition for the senior class, and he asked if we could provide him with any photos or videos that you've maybe had over the course of the last year that feature seniors. It could be in a sporting event, it could be in a performance, anything that has class of 2020 participants. He would like to get a copy of that in order to start putting together a recognition. Not exactly sure what that recognition is going to be, but it requires your participation. Typically, if we were in school, we would do something like this to help, but we're not in school, and despite the fact that we're not in school, school is still existing. It just exists remotely like we're doing right now. So I know that many of you were working with Anthony, who was putting together a film. That film might kind of evolve into this recognition. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to Anthony or gotten extensive details from Mr. Martinez. However, he does need those things. So please search your phones, because I know that most of you use the phones. We did not use the cameras hardly at all this year, so I don't have anything on SD cards that I could forward to him, and I don't have access to the room, so I can't go and see what's on the hard drives of the Macs. So we're kind of relying on whatever you've picked up, and I know that several of you took a ton of information, even if it's just photos and videos of yourselves doing what we do for class. You're still members of the class of 2020, with the exception of 2 of your members, Isabel and Iskali. But they may also have some photos, some videos, some kind of imagery or iconography that we could forward to Mr. Martinez. So there's that. Let's give the shout outs. Oh, only one person liked that, by the way. Thank you, Valentina. And here are the shout outs for the people who liked last week's final update. Thank you, Esmeralda. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Luz. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Valentina. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Iskali. Last week, we did a podcast. Only 2 of you responded. Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Jasmine. And they also made the puzzle. I'm not sure if you like the puzzle. Until I get some information back from you, I won't give you another one, or maybe I'll give you another one later this week. But this week, our weekly telecast pre-production podcast is how to be more productive. So there's a difference between being busy and being productive. A lot of people are busy, but it doesn't mean that they're productive. And a lot of people who are productive really aren't that busy. The differences are discussed throughout the course of this podcast, which is, I think, about 40 minutes long. I urge you to please give it a read. I'm going to ask you, according to the podcast, what are the differences between being busy and being productive? And what are some of the more effective ways of being productive? And what changes can we make in our lives in order to become more productive? Productive will be defined in the context of the podcast. It's not just doing stuff, because that's being busy. And if we go back to our updates, I want to remind you, we'll do one of these per week. It shouldn't take you the 3 hours that we are allotted per week to meet. June 5th, your second semester final, the documentary project that we talked about. Initially, you were going to make a documentary on a Bravo program. That was the original plan. But now the new option is to make a documentary on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on you and your family, or if you live in an apartment building, on your building. I again advise you, as I have in previous updates, not to disobey the social distancing and to stay indoors where you can stay safe, instead of doing a documentary about things that are happening all over your neighborhood or all over the city. Instead, focus it on telling your story. This is a project for school, yes, and you could think of it as an assignment and homework, yes. Everything's homework now, but in truth, it's also a historical document that you're making. You're making a time capsule, essentially, a visual time capsule, audiovisual time capsule about what your family experienced during this historic event that we are all suffering through differently. Some people are at home worried about their jobs, worried about how they're going to pay rent or mortgage. Some people are at home concerned about their family members. I'll share with you that my dad is in a quarantine facility right now in another country, and there's not much I can do. There are different people who are suffering through different elements of this, and so are you. Even if it's not something that you would compare to the doctors and nurses and first responders that are on the line, your experience is equally valuable. All of us are doing this together. We're supposed to be participating in social distancing, in staying at home, not going to the beach, or pretending that something that exists doesn't exist. You're dealing with it from a perspective as a student that hasn't had to do remote learning before, that hasn't had to do distance learning the way that we're all doing it, not just here in LA, but across the world. 1.5 billion of the people in the world's population are school children who are at home. So these are all things that you could contextualize your experience with and make a record of that. We've talked about it in previous updates, and we'll talk about it again, but you're doing a project for school, yes, but this is something you'll always be able to show your family, your descendants, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren potentially. This is what it was like to live through this period in history. So I hope you take it seriously and that you do your best. I've also posted a variety of online editing tools that are free, so please take a look at those. If you have any questions, as usual, please ask me, and please hit like so that I know you saw this update. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay creative. Peace out.